All right, as we usually do, we start off with Gardner Mayor Mike Nicholson, our first guest on Hotline Radio. Thank you, Mike, for being our guest today.
Always happy to be here, Steve. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. What's happening in the city? Maybe if you could review, because I know you've done a lot with the administration specifically for downtown development.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the status on some of the projects?
It's been a crazy week here in Gardner, but it's a very good reason for it to be crazy. The building over at 280 to 320 Central Street, so that's the Central Park building if you go there, had some electrical issues this past week. National Grid's wires on the outside had some disconnect with the wires on the inside. The neutrals weren't responding the correct way, so there were some energy issues there. So some of the businesses had to close for a little bit, but that has since been repaired. We've heard from Empire Management that they expect the scaffolding to come down in front of their building for the winter time in the next week or two to make sure it opens up again for the winter season, especially with, if we get snow, people are worried about plowing the sidewalks and shoveling. And while it would add some cover in some ways, it would get in the way in other ways. We don't want to plow accidentally hitting that there. So the scaffolding will come down shortly. And the apartments over at the Old Temptations and Ryan Block building are actually open for open house now. They are available for viewing. They've got an upcoming open house this weekend. And in fact, they're set to receive their full occupancy certificate coming up. So we should have people living in those apartment units come January of this year. I talked to the owner, Gary Lorden, a couple weeks ago, and he let me know at the first open house that they had on Veterans Day, they had 60 people show up for those. They were able to rent out about 13 of those 30 units through that event. So there's still some units available there, and we will expect it to be fully complete, like full and occupied by February.
Well, that's great for downtown Gardner, for the businesses too.
Oh, 100%. And I do want to throw out there too, because this is a concern I get a lot too, is this building has its own dedicated parking lot. So it does have specific spots dedicated for those who are living there. And we do have a new committee that'll be working on a couple of proposals for parking meters in the downtown. Should we move to just all free parking and remove the meters completely? Do we get new meters? Do we get kiosks? Is the current hour system, because right now we're capped at 3 hours at a time, is any of that working? And if not, what could we be getting suggestions on? Now, we can't have everybody on the committee because that would just hinder its progress there too. So we do have several members of the administration. Anne LeBlanc from John's Sports Shop is the representative of the downtown businesses. So if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, or anything like that, feel free to contact my office and we can get them to the committee. Or if you want, you can contact those members directly. And that's Anne from John's Sports Shop, Rebecca Morose, the Executive Director and President of the Greater Gardner Chamber of Commerce, Dane Arnold from the DPW, Rob Oliver, the City Engineer, Josh Cormier, the City Director of Purchasing, and Jen Demick, our City Treasurer.
Well, I'm sure that if there was no parking meters in downtown Gardner, there would have to be an individual going around to check so a person doesn't stay there for 6, 7, 8 hours.
Absolutely. And that's the concern that we have. And especially now that the Supreme Court a couple years ago ruled that the police department can no longer chalk tires. It's actually viewed as trespassing on someone's property now. If you chalk a tire because you're drawing and leaving something on someone else's property, their car. So that used to be you could chalk the tire in the sidewalk to see if the car moved at all. Now you can't do that. So now is it really an adequate way for us to police the 3-hour limit that we have in the downtown without some type of parking control?
When do you expect that committee to get going?
I expect they'll get going sometime at the beginning of the year. Let people get through the Christmas season. It's a busy time of year for everyone right now. And then move forward and see really what's happening from there.
But any resident can actually submit information, their ideas about what should be done.
Absolutely, and that's how we want this information to go. Is, I've always said us here in City Hall do work on behalf of everyone who lives here. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, anything like that, send them to my office and we'll get them to the committee. And
there will be additional parking in the near the library after that apartment building is built?
Yes, well, I mean the parking lot project by the library, that's actually starting this April.
Oh, okay,
so that'll actually be built and constructed well before the apartment building's done.
I see. Okay, great. And how many parking spaces for that?
About 160 spots.
Wow, that's great.
That. No, absolutely.
And of course, that's an easy trek right to Main Street with all of these stores too.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, talking about stores, I understand that Five Below is coming into Tiffany.
Five Below,
that's great.
Yes, it is. So right next to Tractor Supply, Aldi will be there, and on the other side of Aldi, Five Below will go in there. We've had a lot of recent developments there too. Chipotle is going to be taking over the old Santander Bank building. They're going to be demolishing the current structure and building new. It's nice to see a lot of the economic development work start to pay off in Gardner.
And especially the chain restaurants too.
Yes.
Sometimes they will not come into an area if they think it's not going to work. So
No, exactly. And now they've started to come.
Right.
And that's the thing is we're working with a couple others too. And these are chains that have told us no in the past. And now they've told us yes because they're seeing us.
it seems like Gardner is growing all the time.
Yeah, no, and let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
Now, taking a look at the new state budget coming up for Chapter 70 and 90 funds, any discussion on that for next year?
For next year, we're hoping that the governor keeps true to her promise to fully fund the Student Opportunity Act, especially now that that's been signed into law. It really helped us a lot this year, and I think it's going to help us moving forward. So hopefully that'll help us with our Chapter 70. That gave us quite a massive bump in Chapter 78 this year, and I'm hoping that stays. In terms of Chapter 90, working with the Massachusetts Municipal Association, I'm really hoping that we get a bump in that one. We've really been flatlined at that $600,000 we get every year since 2012, and you can't even buy a loaf of bread for what you could buy a loaf of bread for in 2012 now. So imagine that in paving where we pay $1 million a mile, it doesn't add up the right way. So I'm hoping that that gets increased, but we haven't had any conversations yet. I have been notified by individuals at the administration that I'm being appointed to the governor's new local government advisory commission.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. So effective at the end of January. So I'll still be here mayor full time, but what it is, it's a group that just advises the administration on really what are we seeing here on the ground level and the municipal level. It's made up of mayors and city councilors and town administrators and town managers, representatives from different local officials across the state. There are 6 mayors who serve on that, and I've been selected of the 52 mayors in the state, I've been selected as one of the 6. So
and of course, this past week, Governor Healy signed the supplemental bill for fiscal year 2023. $250 million, of course, going to shelter the aliens in the Massachusetts area. But also some of that money, I understand, will come to supplement some of the school district costs of actually educating some of the immigrants.
Yes, so that is true. And the Massachusetts State Constitution requires that anyone who's of school aged in Mass get a free public education. So we have to educate these children from these refugees who come. So, but at the same time, when we built the budget back in June, we didn't anticipate to have 40 extra students. And when you look at what we have to pay per student minimally by law, it's about $1,400 per student per year. So the state is coming in and helping cover that cost to make sure that we don't take the hit on our end because we didn't budget for them when the budget was originally there.
Now, do they pay for the entire cost of the students?
They do.
They
do.
Great, fantastic. That's wonderful. So, now, what are some of the other things coming up this year, as we wrap up this calendar year? Next year, I guess, Greenwood Pool development?
Yeah, the Greenwood Pool development is set to go forward. The demolition, we're hoping to have the demolition take place sometime while the ground is still frozen. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, it's so close to Crystal Lake that it does get very mushy and muddy there when the ground begins to thaw. So we don't want the equipment to sink into the ground. But also, the building's 100 and something years old. So we don't know how much asbestos is in there. We don't know what the full impact is. And the study's happening right now. So we will know by the time demolition happens. But actually, one of the remediation ways that's approved by the state to take care of it during that is do it when the ground is frozen. That way you know it's not going to leak out different places.
Right, and dust and stuff like that will not occur.
Exactly. So that's what our goal right now is to get it done while the ground is frozen and then build a pavilion in the springtime. Same thing with Rome Square. That building will come down, we believe, in January or February. And of course, it's a construction timeline, so take it as flexible as you can.
And that's going to be a redevelopment of that area for the road system?
That is correct, yes. And open it up, and then we'll have some land available for development there, too. The Uptown Rotary, that's set to be completed. We're looking at paving the roads ancillary to the Rotary next year, so that's Pearl Street, Green, Woodland, Elm, and Central. Some of them were done as part of the water main project, but others weren't. So now that we've got this massive project and improvement there, make it, improved all the way around. And I think that'll really be a big difference.
And it looks like Gardner is in good financial shape. As I talked to Liz Kazinskas, reviewing some of the budgetary things. So we're in good shape.
We're in very good shape. We're in very good shape. The tax rate's the lowest it's been since 2010. I will say the caveat to that is as valuations go up, the tax rate goes down, but we're going in the right direction. And I think that's the message that we get out there is that we are going in the right direction and things are growing here. There's a reason why values are going up, and that's because Gardner's got the investment in it right now that it's going in. And additionally, we've got a healthy free cash. Our new growth came in higher. We're expecting that to continue to grow higher. Our audits are still coming in without any findings or even suggestions. So I'm really happy with how we are here.
And that's good for the financial markets to take a look at Gardner as a good financial entity.
Exactly. And I think It'll help us with our bond rating that we have here, but it also helps people look here. If a community doesn't have their feet underneath them, people notice that. And if a developer has a choice between somewhere that looks like they have it all together and somewhere that doesn't, I think it's going to be an easy choice for them.
And taking a look at some of the real estate here in the city of Gardner, actual home prices are going up for selling.
Yeah, and this hasn't happened in how long in Gardner?
Yes, right.
So I think it just all shows that people are interested here.
Now, I always ask you about the consideration, the proposal of actually having the bike path around Crystal Lake for the entire Crystal Lake area. Yeah. Any word on that yet?
I mean, we've looked at it very closely. A lot of the places that the bike path currently is around the area. We can make it work around, we'd have to do some work at the golf course to make it work there. We've currently the extension from the Greenwood Pool area, Park Street Park, all the way around the new extension that's going to go bordering the lake out to 140. That should be there. We have run into some resistance when we did this recent upgrade. The Elks Lodge in particular did not want us going behind their property. And would not give us permission to construct around behind that property there too. So that's why the bike sidewalk in front of the Elks is now extra wide so that a bike can go there and then reconnect at the lake too. So it's kind of the properties between the skating rink and the new Park Street Park wouldn't allow us to go behind their property. So that's why we had to go in front the way we did. But other than that, it is something we are looking at.
And also the 140 bridge is going to be on the agenda for this year.
Yes, so the completion of the design is on agenda for this year. Construction, if it's late this year, I'm going to say it's closer to the year after that. But hey, we're getting there. That's the thing, though, is the light's finally at the end of the tunnel. Before it was a pipe dream, and now it's here. And I think that's really cool. And
also talking about the outdoor pool at Greenwood.
Yes.
Is there still plans to take a look at the Olympic-size pool?
Yeah, we currently have a business plan being developed for that to see, if it were to happen, what would the funding come in look like? Would we be able to basically cover our debts? And so once that full study and report is done, we'll be able to take a better, closer look at that.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of interest continuing all over New England for actual swim meets coming to Gardner.
Absolutely. No, I mean, Gardner's been known for swimming for how long? I think it's really worth it.
All right, as we wrap things up, have anything else to mention?
No,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year for sure. And
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Remember that we do have the horse-drawn carriage rides for free coming into the downtown, calling it Christmas in the City. They'll begin at 6 p.m. and go till 8 p.m. on Thursday, December 21st. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to stop by Gardner City High. These are free rides, so don't worry about that. It's just a way to get people in the Christmas season here.
And you're still accepting videos for the chorus
We are.
video?
December 15th is the deadline, so get them in if you can. We have one in so far, so we'll see who else we get.
All right. Mike Nicholson, Mayor of Gardner, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you, Steve. Take care now.